video, we got the worst school shootings in U.S. history. Oh, man. School shootings. One of the most scariest things of all time if you're in school. A fucking school shooting, man. Let's get into it.
The worst school shootings.
Wait, hold on. Why the fuck is my school is up here? Virginia Tech? Stop, man. Stop. Wasn't no school shooting at Virginia Tech. I've never heard about no school shooting at Virginia Tech. Stop.
That's history.
Well, that's not my school, but I
Virginia
live
Tech.
close to Virginia Tech.
On the morning of April 16th, 2007, at Virginia Polytechnical Institute and State University
07?
in Blacksburg, 23-year-old Sung Hoi Cho, a senior at Virginia Tech, stepped onto the fourth floor of the West Ambler Johnston Hall, a student dormitory. He raised his handgun and shot 2 students inside the building at close range. Both victims died at the scene. After the shooting, Cho left the dormitory and disappeared from the area. After the attack, the investigators later identified a pair of shoes and jeans in the dorm room of a student named Sung Hoi Cho, who had purchased 2 handguns and large amounts of ammunition weeks earlier. Within the next 2.5 hours, Cho returned to his room to rearm himself. He mailed a package to NBC News that contained pictures, digital video footage, and documents explaining his motives. At about 9:40 a.m.,
He's fucking psych. He's a psycho. This guy is a psycho. Why have I've never heard about this? Well, I was born in 06 and this happened in 07. But still, I would have heard about this though. I literally live close to here.
Cho returned to campus and walked into Norris Hall, an engineering building. He chained the main entrances from the inside, blocking escape routes. He then moved through classrooms and fired repeatedly at students and professors. Students called emergency services and tried to escape. Police rushed to the scene but had to force their way through the chained doors. As police closed in, the gunman entered a classroom and ended his own life by gun. The 2 assaults left 32 people dead and dozens of others injured.
32 people?
The police found a note in Cho's room in which he criticized rich kids, and he was obsessed with a female student named Emily Jane Hilscher and became enraged after she rejected his romantic overtures.
Wow.
Sandy Hook Elementary School.
So
Around 9 a.m.
that was his motive. He got rejected by a woman, and he was jealous of rich students that went there. That was his motive? Some people in this world is just psycho, bro.
December 14th,
Don't belong
2012.
here.
Adam Lanza, who had a mental health problem, shot and killed his mother, 20-year-old Nancy Lanza, at their Newtown home. Then he drove to Sandy Hook Elementary School in his mother's car. He was wearing black clothing, yellow earplugs, sunglasses, a black hat, and a green
I've heard
utility
about
vest.
this.
Lanza carried a semi-automatic rifle and handguns. He walked toward the front entrance and began firing, shattering glass and forcing his way inside the school.
Yo, y'all remember that one girl who made a song about this? I forgot her name, but she had like a mohawk. It was like way back in the day, like 2012, 2013. She made a song about this shit. I remember that. It was like Sandy Hook Elementary. I forgot her name, bro. But I was a kid watching that jump. She made a song
Principal
about it.
Don Hochsprung and school psychologist Mary Scherthlach, initially unaware that the sounds were gunfire, stepped into the hallway to investigate. They encountered Lanza and were fatally shot.
Oh my
while
God.
teacher Natalie Hammond was seriously wounded but survived. Lanza briefly entered the main office area before proceeding toward first-grade classrooms. In classroom 8, he killed substitute teacher Lauren Rousseau and 15 students. Other students hid in the bathroom and called the police. He then entered
How could
classroom
you
10,
just-
where teacher Victoria Soto attempted to protect her students, but Lanza opened fire, killing Soto.
How could you just walk into an elementary school and kill elementary students, man? Like, how could you ever do that?
Teacher Murphy and 5 students. Several children managed to escape during pauses in the shooting. After the shooting, Lanza returned to room number 10, where he ended his
You know
life
how
with a handgun.
fucked up you have to be?
In total, 20 students and 6 school staff members were killed. The police arrived shortly afterward, but it was too late.
Like, you
The
literally
shooting
have
had
to be
already ended.
inhumane.
After the investigations, the police still couldn't find any clues or motives for the perpetrator. Columbine High School. On April 20th, 1999, at around 11:20 a.m., Harrison Klebold arrived at school armed with firearms and homemade explosives, including pipe bombs, aerosol canisters, and 2 propane bombs.
I've heard
They
about
placed
this.
2
This
large
is like
propane
an
bombs in
OG
the school
school shooting.
cafeteria, timed to detonate during the busiest lunch period. However, both bombs failed to explode. When the plan failed at 11:19 a.m., they began firing outside the school, killing 2 students and wounding several others. They entered the building, moving toward the hallways and classrooms while firing randomly and throwing smaller explosive devices. Teacher Dave Sanders began warning students and directing evacuations before being shot and seriously wounded in a hallway.
God.
The police quickly moved to the scene, and Harris and Klebold exchanged fire with responding Sheriff Deputy Neil Gardner outside the school. Neither side was hit. They then entered the building through the west entrance, moving through hallways while firing sporadically and throwing pipe bombs. At 11:29 a.m., they entered the school library. Over approximately
This is where
7
they
minutes,
killed themselves.
Harris and Klebold killed 10 students and wounded 12 others at close range. The shooters moved between rows of tables and fired beneath desks after leaving the library at 11:36 a.m. They set a small fire. At approximately 12:02 p.m., Harris
They
and
set a
Klebold
fire
returned to the
too?
librally, now largely
Okay,
empty,
this is where they
except
killed
for 2
themselves.
critically injured students. After a brief exchange of gunfire with police outside at 12:08 p.m., both attackers ended their own lives.
Okay.
The attack resulted in 13 deaths.
I've seen a video of someone who survived this school shooting right here, the Columbine. He said he was actually a football student. He said he was running away from the bullets. He said he heard the bullets like go right past his ear like that. He said it was a scary experience, but he ended up getting away. I said, damn, man, that's just a gift. That's
12 students and 1 teacher.
God was
and more
watching
than
over
20
you,
people
buddy.
were injured. The motives of Harris and Klebold
For a bullet
had
to
not
go
yet been
straight
revealed by
past your
the
ear
police.
like this?
It also led to what became known as the Columbine effect,
God
as
was
later
watching over
attackers
him.
imitated aspects of this massacre. Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. On the afternoon of February 14, 2018, a student appeared at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, armed with a semi-automatic rifle and multiple magazines. At approximately 2:21 p.m., he quickly assembled his weapon at the base of a stairwell and told student Christopher McKenna, who accidentally walked by, "You better get out of here." As he entered the first-floor hallway, he fatally shot 3 students. The attacker then fired through the windows of 4 closed classroom doors on the other side of the hallway,
windows?
killing 6 more students and wounding 13 others on the first floor of the building.
Jesus.
As fire alarms sounded, students panicked and evacuated into hallways rather than sheltering in place.
Oh
After
my
moving
God.
through all 3 floors of the building and expending large amounts of ammunition, the gunman stopped shooting, abandoned his weapon, and escaped the scene by blending in with the fleeing students. The attack resulted in 17 people being killed, and 18 more were wounded. At about 3:41 p.m., police arrested the suspect without resistance 2 miles from the school. The gunman was Nicholas Cruz, a 19-year-old former student who had been expelled for disciplinary reasons. Investigators revealed that Cruz had a documented history of behavioral problems, violent threats, and contact with law enforcement. In 2022, Cruz was charged with 17 counts of first-degree murder. As a result, Cruz was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. University
So a
of Texas
person
Tower.
Another person with
On the
mental
1st
issues.
of August 1966, one of the earliest and most shocking mass shootings in American history unfolded at the University of Texas at Austin. At midnight, 25-year-old Charles Whitman drove to his mother's apartment and fatally stabbed her while she slept, leaving a note. Around
this
3
shit
a.m.,
makes you
Whitman
scared
returned
to go
home
to school,
and stabbed
bro.
his wife to death in a similar manner, again leaving a note describing affection, confusion, and violent thoughts. Later that morning, he withdrew money, purchased multiple firearms and hundreds of rounds of ammunition from several stores, and modified a shotgun by sawing off its barrel. He packed his weapons, supplies, and food into a large footlocker. Disguised in work clothes to appear as a maintenance worker, he drove to the University of Texas campus shortly before noon. At approximately 11:30 a.m., Whitman entered the university's main building, incapacitated a receptionist, and erected a makeshift barricade. He then killed some at close range before moving on to the observation deck. At 11:48 a.m., Whitman began firing from the tower, 231 feet above the ground. For the next 96 minutes, he shot at people across the campus and surrounding streets, killing students, staff, and civilians at distances of up to several hundred yards. Many initially
my
mistook
God.
the gunfire for construction noise, delaying the realization of an active attack. Officers and armed civilians returned fire from the ground, forcing Whitman to stay low. Eventually, multiple officers ascended the tower. At approximately 1:24 p.m., two Austin police officers confronted Whitman on the observation deck and fatally shot him at close range.
Damn.
By the time the shooting had ended, Whitman had killed 14 people and wounded more than 30 others.
That is so
After
sad.
the investigation, the main motive of the perpetrator was believed to be his psychological issues following his parents' divorce. This was considered one of the most horrific shooting incidents in U.S. history. Umpqua Community College.
Bro, you can't just... they should be in some type of program, bro.
On the morning of October 1st, 2015, in Roseburg, Oregon.
And then on top of that,
26-year-old
sometimes when they do stuff like this, like the judge won't even sentence them to any type of years in prison. They might go to prison for like 2 months and then they get let out because they have mental issues, so they won't punish them like they should. And it's just like, it's kind of not fair, bro.
perpetrator Christopher Harper Mercer arrived at the Umpqua Community College campus, armed with 6 handguns and a significant amount of ammunition. At approximately 10:38 a.m., the gunman entered a writing class in Snyder Hall and fired a warning shot. Before he opened fire on the other students, he deliberately spared one student's life so that the student could deliver a package from him to the police. Then, Harper Mercer first shot the English professor at point-blank range. He ordered students to stand up and asked, "Are you Christian?" If a victim replied yes, he reportedly stated, "Good, because you're a Christian, you're going to see God in just about a second," before shooting them.
What?
At 10:44, police arrived at the hallway of Snyder Hall. Harper Mercer fired several shots at the officers. They fired 3 shots in return, hitting him once in the right side. Harper Mercer retreated and fatally ended his own life inside the classroom.
What the fuck was up with this
dead
guy?
and 9 others wounded. Christopher was diagnosed with a mental illness right after that. A total of 14 firearms were later recovered in connection with him, all of which had been purchased legally because he did not have a diagnosis of mental illness, and his family background was clean. Following the tragedy, the perpetrator's father, Ian Mercer, appeared on television and sparked significant controversy by blaming the massacre 100% on American gun laws. He questioned how his son, who suffered from mental health issues, was able to acquire such a large arsenal, stating, "If Christopher had not been able to get guns, this wouldn't have happened." West Side Middle School.
Yeah, the gun laws
On
is
the night of March
definitely
23rd,
another problem
1998,
indicating
Mitchell
to
Johnson
this.
and
Because
Andrew Golden
I'm hearing
stole
in
9
other countries this does not happen at all. Like, this doesn't happen at all. So it could be, not could be. I know it's the gun laws too. That plays a big part in
guns
this.
and 2,000 bullets from Golden's grandfather to prepare for their plan. On the morning of March 24th, 1998, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, the 2 boys, Mitchell Johnson and Andrew Golden, deliberately missed their school bus and instead traveled by van to the nearby Westside Middle School. Shortly after 12:30 p.m., at the beginning of the 5th class period, Golden pulled the school's fire alarm, while Johnson had already positioned firearms in a wooded area outside the building. After activating the alarm, Golden ran back to the woods, joining Johnson. As students and teachers evacuated the building, the 2 boys opened fire from the concealed position. When children and teachers fled from the school, the 2 perpetrators opened fire. At first, the students were confused because they thought it was just a drill, and the loud sound sounded like fireworks. As gunfire continued and some students were lying inert on the schoolyard, others who evacuated students were directed back into the school's gymnasium. Several injured victims were pulled back inside by teachers and students after doors automatically locked due to the fire alarm system. The attack left 5 people dead, 4 students and 1 teacher. Shannon
Wow.
Wright, who shielded a wounded student with her body. 9 students and 1 teacher were wounded. After the attack, Johnson and Golden attempted to flee toward their van and escape. Police captured both boys approximately 10 minutes after the shooting began. The motive was Mitchell Johnson's resentment over a recent breakup and Andrew Golden's obsession with firearms. Due to their ages, they could not be tried as adults. They were sentenced to juvenile detention until the age of 21, the maximum allowed under Arkansas law at that time.
I think,
Red
yeah,
Lake
so
High
then
School.
when they hit 21,
At
they'll be tried
approximately
as an
2:47
adult.
p.m., at home in Red Lake, Minnesota, American Jeffrey Wise fired multiple shots at close range, killing his grandfather, Darrell Lusser Sr.,
Like,
a
I
retired
can't
police
just,
officer.
like, a breakup leading to a school shooting. Like, come on, bro. Come on.
While he was asleep,
Come on, bro.
he then shot and killed Michelle Sagana, his grandfather's partner, as she was walking up the stairs. Afterward, Wise took the firearms issued to his grandfather along with body armor and drove his grandfather's police vehicle toward the Red Lake Senior High School where he was studying. At approximately 2:49 p.m., Wise arrived at Red Lake Senior High School, ramming the police vehicle into the building near the main gate. Entering through the main doors, he shot and killed an unarmed security guard operating a metal detector. The second guard escaped and immediately warned students and staff to take cover. Moving through the main hallway, Wise shot and wounded the English teacher before she reached a nearby classroom.
Wow.
At 2:51 p.m., Wise forced his way into the classroom of Missy Dodd, shot and killed a teacher, and then targeted students at close range, asking them questions about whether they believed in God. One student replied no, and his life was spared. The rest of the group said nothing, and as a result, were shot at. One student, Jeffrey May, attempted to physically stop Wise, allowing others to escape, but was himself critically injured. Police arrived quickly and exchanged gunfire with Wise. After being wounded, he retreated to one classroom. At approximately 2:58 p.m., Wise fatally ended his own life with a shot. The entire attack lasted about 9 minutes. 7 people were killed at the school: 5 students, 1 teacher, 1 security guard, and 2 victims at his home. Subsequent investigations reported that Wise had suffered from severe depression and long-term bullying prior to the attack.
See?
If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe.
This is what I'm talking about, man. This is what I'm talking about. Leave people alone. This what I be saying with that bullying shit too, bro. You can't just be bullying people, man. But this is definitely 100% on him. This is where you should be getting a therapist. You shouldn't just throw your life away by doing stupid shit like this. But yeah, bro. This is, I don't even know why.